So that's Lemberger, Gutswein. So for us, from younger vineyards, we replanted some vineyards with oat genetics, and also all the new vineyards we could rent, for example. We started them in the Gutswein quality, and then after a few years they get a chance to come into the next level. They can take an upgrade, yes. Lemberger is always, we try to ferment everything in oak, also in these big fermenters, but we also use it for the ripening, because we think, especially for Lemberger, we really love to have bigger volumes, like Halbstück or like this, we have 1,500 liters, because we think Lemberger has enough tannins on its own, and we always we got the experience that in bigger volumes we get more this fruit characteristics, more the juiciness.
The variety can show itself better. And especially with the shell limestone underground, we think because the wines are so fine and elegant, you have to be careful with wood.
And because it can mask the whole.
Yes, and as Fabi said, Lemberger itself has a lot of tannins, and you don't have to add or to increase.
No, but now I remember what you said in the vineyard, because you want to still have this freshness in the wine, and you want to preserve it, but it's really that, because in the nose it was really almost like kind of this white berry, almost like sloes, or this kind of, it's really dark, like acidic kind of berries. So it's not like cassis or something, not like berries, but really small berries, like juniper or this kind of aromas, I would say. So very enticing, and then if you drink it, it's so fresh. Still, so it's not like a cooked or overcooked or kind of jammy or this, but it lifts somehow your mouth.
I think with Lemberger, for us, it's very important that you don't, for example, do the leaf blocking too extensive. So we try to keep the grapes in the shadow. So we don't do that much leaf blocking. We do a lot of canopy management, because we want to have it loose and the shoots very straight. But at the end, it has to be loose, and so that the grapes can dry, but keep them healthy. Don't want to expose them too much to the sun, to preserve the freshness. And we also keep the whole grape, so we don't cut off the half, for example, like a lot of people do. Because we think especially the freshness is sitting in the bottom of the grape, so we want to preserve the freshness.
But do you de-stem or for this one?
Partly, depends on the year. In a hot year we use more stems and don't do a lot of de-stemming, and in really cool years we do more de-stem. And
so in 2020 it was
about 30% whole bunches. Within the last years we did more and more whole bunch fermentation with the Lemberger, because we think it fits very well. With the Pinot Noir, in 2018 we did a lot, sometimes 100% whole cluster. But for us, sometimes it was a bit too green. We got this very green character. It was good because you preserve the freshness. But I think we went a bit back the last 2 years to maybe 40% whole clusters. And with the Lemberger, we increased every year the amount of whole clusters, because we are very convinced about it. You get a lot of spiciness with the whole clusters. Also a very nice fruit, because at the end when you press it, on Instagram I think I made a photo this year. When we press the Lemberger, you take out a perfect grape which looks still complete. You know, the berries aren't pressed. If you try them, they are still sweet. They just started.
Into cellulose.
Yes.
Fermentation. Yeah.
So you get a very special fruit out of them.
And the tannin is really interesting because it's there, but I haven't noticed it yet. Like, I feel that it's there, so it's kind of like drying my mouth out, and still it's very present, especially in the tongue, I would say. But it's not so
harsh.
Really. But not round, so it's very interesting.
That's what we try to achieve during the extraction. We want to have tannins, but the tannins, they have to be smooth or very well integrated. So we don't do a lot of extraction with the Lemberger. So we just push the cap a little bit down with our hands, or do a remontage, for example. And also with the pressing, with the basket press, you get for us we get the best. How to say it? It's very good to taste all the time during pressing, and then you can always we try to find the best point to stop the pressing, because you can always taste. You have just one outcome, and you test all the time. You try it, and then you say, okay, the tannins start to
get too harsh,
or something like this, and then we stop.
But you also do pichage sometimes? Or?
Yes, depends on every morning you come down in the cellar and you see the mesh, and then you say, oh, today we do pichage or we do remontage. Depends on
But
it's a bit of a feeling you have.
But mostly we do not really a pichage, like push the whole cap down. It's more with our hands, just to keep it moist.
Yeah, you push it down and then you see how the juice comes up, and that's it. And then we go further.
So we don't push
it's not a harsh like.
Also with Pinot Noir, we just do remontage. We mostly do one pichage at the beginning.
Also depends,
It depends.
Depends on the year, depends on the mesh, depends
and
on
it should be like
the
that,
feeling.
right? It's not industrial.
No, we don't have a recipe, and we do it every year like this. But in general, we do with Lemberger especially less extraction. Yes.
Yeah, but the final product is. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. So. It's in the wine. Yes. Oh, beautiful. And this is also another kind of Lemberger, so you also drank probably a lot of Burgen.
Yes.
Lemberger, that's also another kind of.
I think the 3 varieties we are producing ourselves are the varieties
we like to drink.
And plus Chardonnay.
We like to drink even more, but these are the ones we found here.
Yeah.
Good.
So we go back down.
The Lembergers, for us, the first variety we did a single vineyard bottling, which is called the vineyard. We've been there, and it was the Steige. And in the Steige, we had the luck that we could rent another Steige vineyard 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and now we also have their 0.4 hectares together. But we call it Little Steige for us, because it's still converting to organics,
to our system.
Yeah, for us, it takes always a few years to get the vineyards in the right balance. So, like with the Riesling, we try to harvest them separate, ferment them separately, if it makes sense for us from the amount of grapes, and the ripening takes place in different barrels.
Wow.
And what we really like about this year, we really have this a cool taste. It tastes like a very cool vintage for us. A cold vintage. It's not from yeah. And it's a lot of freshness. The sugar level wasn't very high. Of course, we didn't know. We added no sugar, no chocolate, so it's very low in alcohol, maybe 11.5 or 12. I think it's under 12 alcohol. But it's very fast. It was very juicy, very elegant, with a good structure.
And then after the Lemberger, it's really like skipped into this cherry kind of group, like this crimson cherry and this kind of. But then I think the nose is something very special, I would say. Like it's really different, and it really, for me, it's more like this, like almost dark kind of.
Yes.
It was darker than the Lemberger. That was quite.
This Steige vineyard is a bit steeper. It's more south facing, and for us that's a difference. It's a bit warmer.
Yeah, and always
It's also wind open, but the fruit is always darker. It's more
a bit spicier. The basic Lemberger is more the fruity type. Juicy.
But then it really gets a lot of softness, like a typical Pinot Noir. So it has some, like the Lemberger didn't have too much tannins, but but I wouldn't call that smooth. But that I would call rather smooth, like the tannin is more round.
Yeah.
And no, but it's you can just. It's like really like a food. like it's not a drink, like it's a food. It's 11.5 alcohol, but it's so like it kind of stays in your mouth, like you swallowed it, but it's
still there.
yeah, but that is really not heavy, but
and that's for us as a sign for balance in the vineyards. You can just do something like this, and very. For example, it's like a light wine, but with a lot of structure and.
True. Yeah, but that's where the word or the trend goes, I think.
Yes, and for us, it's all about balance. We don't want to have a lot of alcohol because we think personally we drink or we enjoy wines which has which have more elegance and juiciness, and we want to have another glass. That's the best thing for us. If we open a bottle and we drink it and we say, "Wow, great! Let's have another glass of it." Because if you have a glass and you nip a few hours on it and think, "Ooh, it's very hard to." It's even like a main course. It's not the best sign for us.
Drink plus is important.
Yes, drink plus.
Yeah, but it's also good for gastronomy, I think, because you could easily sell 2 bottles of this wine. Like if you sell a Primitivo, then it's kind of it's heavy, and then. So the other one was.
Also Steige?
Steige, but a young Steige.
Okay.
We call it young Steige because we got the vineyard later, but the age of the wines is.
It's a bit younger.
It's a bit younger, yeah. And this one is older now.
So but it's. I just took a sniff and it's more animalistic, I would say. It has a bit more reductivity, maybe.
Yes, it always has. And we don't. I mean. Like the processing of the grapes are basically the same, but you always can taste the difference of the vineyards.
Because of that, we also, for me, it was also with the basic Lemberger, the big volume.
Yeah.
It was very, not ready yet. It was still not clear. I think. It's more we try to we like to have more this reductive character now at this time, because the cellar is very cool. So everything stops, even the malo stops. Malo will take place next spring, this spring or summer now, because when the cellar is getting warmer.
But it's gonna be on the market when?
The 19 is still in the barrel.
Yeah.
So
2022
summer, end of summer maybe. Yeah.
Okay. But it has such. Now I understand. I mean, because people always hear that all the vineyards are better or not. But now with this It's and I wouldn't say it's better, but it's another category. So
It's different.
it's even though it's the same vineyard almost, but it has a more like fruitier kind of side. But I said it's a more darker kind of fruit, but it has, I don't know, it's something mystical. It has a depth, so it's not.
Yes.
And from us, for us, it was from the beginning on, from the first wine we made out of this vineyard. It was every year it was special for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's different, you know.
Wow. And now starts the, like now I am in the kitchen, so now I feel the spices as well. Wow. But it's not so, I mean, I probably could tell that it was in barrels, so it's not reductive winemaking, but the tannins are not, or not the tannins are so woody, but the kind of development of the tannins and the flavors, so you can feel that it got some oxygen, or?
Yes, I mean the Steige or all the wines are completely without any sulfur. So now it's sulfur added prior the fermentation. Also now, so the reduction just comes from the juice from the fermentation. We also fill the barrels with a lot of yeast.
Yeah, not as much as with the whites, the Rieslings, but when we rack the wines, we always
take a lot of yeast because we want to work without any sulfur till bottling, and then we want to have something to keep it reductive.
Yeah. And why do you work without sulfur?
I think if you add sulfur at that point, you kind of interfere in the aging of the wines.
Okay.
And for us, it works to keep the wines 1 year on the yeast, and then you always kind of taste and see it. Of course, as soon as we add some sulfur, the wine changes, and then it closes itself. And then even on the bottle, if you open the bottle, you can taste it over days, and it increases the taste. And
I think the biggest impact is when you add sulfur at the beginning, because if you add sulfur just before the fermentation starts, you select yeasts. And for us, it's always, then you have maybe just a few yeasts which start and they have one aromatics. But if you let all the yeast start, you get maybe even more complex wine. That's what we think, or what we recognized over the few years. little experience. We are not dogmatic about sulfur. We
use sulfur.
We use sulfur, but we try to do it at the end, just maybe 5 to 20 milligrams per liter just before bottling. We also do some special bottlings for viniculture in Berlin without any sulfur. It works as well with the right wines, but usually we add some sulfur just before bottling.
And it also keeps the wine alive somehow, right? Like if I taste.
It depends on the wine, yes, but.
Yeah, I mean not the sulfur, but if you work without sulfur before.
That's what we think. It keeps the wine alive, and it adds another dimension during fermentation.
True.
And if you're selecting the yeast, you have maybe one dimension less.
Or even more or less, or you get a one dimension.